What's up, everybody? It's George Gabriel, and this is tips, do's, and don'ts for using headphones to track and mix. We all have to use headphones when we're recording, whether it's for recording live instruments or if we're monitoring something. But there are some tips and there are some do's and don'ts when using headphones for mixing and tracking, and that is what I want to discuss today. So let's get started. Now let's just start with headphone types. Well, there's the standard over-the-ear headphones, or you could be using their in-ear types. But they both have their pros and cons. Of course, if you really have a great hairdo, unlike me, you'd want to make sure that these kind of headphones don't mess up your hair, but also these can be very comfortable. So if you're needing to wear them for a long time, this might be the ideal solution, regardless of what your hair is going to look like at the end of the day. But if you have some high quality in-ears, these are the Shure ones. They're about 99 bucks, and they seem to do the trick for general purposes. Or if you have some better ones, you can use those too. But the downside of those is they're not that comfortable in your ears if you're going to wear them for a long period of time. But it really boils down to quality and comfort. Quality because you want a good sound, something that's not going to grade your ears, something that's going to accurately represent the sound. But at the same time, you also want comfort. So if it's over your ears, that might be more comfortable. And if it's in your ears, that might not be so comfortable. But it really depends on what's best for you. I do recommend investing in headphones. You can probably get a nice pair of headphones for under 200 bucks, but you really want to make sure that whatever you invest in is a quality product that's not going to fall apart, that has good jacks that are going to last, that it has comfort, that it rates well, and that people are liking the sound of this. But that sets the stage for where we're starting with our headphones. Now let's talk about some of the do's. Now some of these do's might seem fairly obvious, but it goes worth discussing on when you should use headphones. And number one in the do's is use them to record live instruments when you're using a microphone. Again, seems fairly obvious. Why would you be listening to your monitors and trying to use a microphone? It doesn't make sense. However, when you do that, there are a couple of tips that you want to make sure you're paying attention to. Now, when using the traditional headphones, one of the biggest issues when recording live instruments is the click track and how loud you have it in your ears. These over-the-ear type of headphones tend to bleed the click track, and it might not make a difference when there's a lot of things going, but if you're doing a small, intimate recording, you might hear that click track. And if you're doing multi-tracks of vocals, they're going to compound on top of each other. So all the click tracks are going to keep on adding up in the holes. So you want to make sure your levels are not too loud, and you want to check your recordings once you're done the first time around to see if you can hear that click track and adjust accordingly. The reason why click tracks are the worst offender of this is because they usually are high-pitched and they are static. Bop, 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 bop. And that tends to cut through the headphones. But bleed can also exist in the track realm, and you can hear other vocals or other things going musically in the holes that you might not want to hear. The in-ears are not going to have the same problem because they're in your ear. The click won't bleed through these because these are in your ear sockets and they won't be able to get out. However, I will caution if you're a vocalist and have one ear in, these can emit enough noise where you can hear the click, so you might want to put the other one in your pocket. One tip to alleviate the click bleed, especially at the end of a track, that's when I find it's the most egregious, especially when you have guitars that you're tracking and you want to have a ring out and you hear bang. You can't really get rid of that. There's a couple of tricks that I do in those instances. Usually when I'm getting to the end of the track, I've already been jamming along with the track and I don't really need the click to actually achieve the end of it. So I will turn the click off when I'm getting to the end. But another way you can do this is automating a click and creating your own click. So in those holes, the click is not going to be a problem. I'm going to show you how to do this in Logic Pro, but you can do this in virtually any other DAW by making a click in various ways. So in Logic, it's fairly easy to create a custom click track. All you need to do is go to Track, New Tracks, and when you get this new track screen, what you're going to do is you're going to go to a software instrument and you're going to choose Klopfgeist. So you're going to go to Utility, and you're going to go to Klopfgeist, and you're going to go Mono. And it doesn't need to be multi-timbral, just create one of those. And you will see this Klopfgeist tool comes up. Now that is the click tool in Logic. So what you want to do is probably put this up at the top maybe. And if you open your piano roll and you go to the step sequencer, you can actually create the click. So 16 steps would be 16th notes. So depending on how you want your click to be, let's just say you want quarter notes, I would do C3 and then I would do G2 on the ones of that. And it creates this little region here that you can hear the click on. Now you can change the tonality of this. I like to have it a little bit higher of a tone, and I would like to have a little bit higher up here. And then you can just stretch this region out as needed for the track. And so in the holes, you can actually change this up. You can automate volumes on this. You can just cut it off at the very end so you don't hear hear a click track, but what this does is ensure at that last chord, you're not going to hear that click track. You could also do this with a drum set. You could do this varying different ways, but this gives you a little bit of an edge on being able to make sure that on those ring out chords or on those silent moments that you don't have that click track bleeding through your headphones. Again, if you're using in-ear, it might not be a problem, but this is just an alternate way to make sure that that doesn't happen. Which brings me to number 2 on the do list of using headphones, and that is use it for rough mixing and tracking. Now, tracking and rough mixing with headphones is perfectly fine. Maybe you're at a coffee shop, maybe you're at a place where you need to be quiet, maybe you don't want to wake up the baby, maybe you don't want to aggravate your significant other. Whatever the case may be, that is an ideal time to spend time in headphones. This might seem like, okay, this is really big tips you're giving me here. But the tip I will add in this is make sure you be careful of fatigue. Don't be doing this for hours on end. You only get one set of ears, and once you destroy them, they ain't coming back. Number 3 in this do list is for monitoring. Maybe you're playing with other players. Again, obvious, but using headphones to monitor when you're playing with multiple people obviously makes sense. It could be a live to tape recording. It could be just a couple people in the room, but obviously multiple people playing have to be able to monitor each other. So using headphones in that situation, of course, is a do. Again, you're not probably very surprised at this list. You're like, duh, well, what are you telling me that's new? And really the answer to that lies in the don'ts. So let's go over the list of don'ts. Number 1 don't with using headphones is don't use headphones to get sounds of your instruments. For instance, if you're tracking with a live room, you don't want to put headphones on and like get a drum sound. That doesn't make any sense. The idea of having good monitors is to emulate the pressure of what it's going to sound like when you use monitors, when it's on speakers. And headphones don't have necessarily the bandwidth that is going to give you the accuracy of what that sound is. Remember, we're looking at maybe a $200 pair of headphones versus good, accurate monitors that are going to be a little bit more costly, and they're actually pushing the air so you feel the air, you're feeling the room the way that it is. Really, to get the most accurate representation of whatever you're recording is have a live room or another room where you're getting the sound, and you want to be able to dial in that sound using proper monitors that are moving air more than what you would be hearing in the headphones. Now, if you don't have the luxury and you're just recording yourself to get sounds by using monitors because you're in the same room, my suggestion is use headphones to track what you're recording and then listen back on monitors to see exactly what it sounds like when you're listening to monitors versus headphones. Especially when you're doing guitars and stuff like that, make sure you make very precise notes on exactly where you are using a mic, because just 1 inch one way or another can totally change the sound. So although you could use headphones to get the sounds, especially if you're by yourself, I always recommend double checking it on your monitor to make sure that whatever you're hearing in the headphones is accurately represented on your monitors. Number 2 on the don't for headphones list is don't have your click too loud. For the obvious reasons I explained before is you don't want your click to bleed. Another reason why you don't want to have your click too loud is it will shrill through your ears and kill your ears a lot quicker than maybe the rest of the track will, because you always ride that click way above the track, so you make sure that you're on point with it. Track bleed's not the only reason why you don't have your click too loud. It's ear bleed. Yeah, your ears are going to bleed at the end of the day, and you're going to hear when you go to bed. So resist having your click too loud. In fact, what I like to do is I like to have my whole mix actually a lot lower with whatever instrument's focused higher, and that way I don't have to ride that click so loud, so I can save my ears in the process. Which brings me to number 3 on the don't list, and that is don't do this for an extended period of time. Now, if you're like me, you might be listening to something for hours and hours. And if you're using headphones, you need to know when hearing loss starts. Also, if you're like me, you like to hear things loud. And one issue with low end in headphones is that these are small, and I don't care how many subwoofers you have in your in-ears or in your headphones, we like to feel the bass. So that gives us a tendency to want to push it. So if you're mixing kind of loud and you're maybe at that 80 to 90 decibel range, you have to realize that hearing damage happens in about 2 hours at that range. And if you're louder, like 100 decibels, hearing damage can happen in 15 minutes. You want to protect your ears because you only get one set. And if you want to have longevity in this career, make sure you're not blasting out your ears with lots of decibels in your headphones. Then your mixes will really suffer because you won't have any high end left and you'll always be pushing high end. A good barometer is when you stop, if your ears are ringing, you've gone too far. Which brings me to the final point in the don'ts list. Do not do your final mix using headphones. Now, I know you're going to hear like, oh, I know this engineer and these big Grammy winning people and they always use headphones. Let's just go with the premise of what music is. If you're hearing a band, it's moving air. If you're putting things in your headphones, it's not moving the same air. In fact, I recommend that you mix with a subwoofer so you're really moving the air and you're really feeling the high ends and you're really feeling the low ends. That'll give give you a way more accurate mix. Some people swear by mixing in headphones. I think it's a mistake. That's my opinion, but reality is we're used to hearing things with our ears in a room, in a space, with air moving. A lot of people go, well, why does my mix suck? Your mix sucks because you're not getting an accurate representation using proper monitors, 8-inch woofers, a subwoofer, to actually move the air in the room to feel what that mix feels like. So if you want the best kind of mixes, use monitors. Do not use headphones. Headphones and monitors both have their own style footprint, and that can really hurt your mix. But I maintain that mixing with monitors is going to be way better accurate representation of what it is that you're putting out there. So what do you think? Do you think that I'm out to lunch? Do you think that, oh, I always use headphones and you're wrong? I want to know. Drop me a line and let me know. We can dialogue about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button. Click the bell icon to be notified of future videos. And follow me on Instagram at GGabrielMusic. And I'll see you next time on George Gabriel Music.